Hi, Mr. Shapiro.
Howdy.
I'm actually the president of the College Democrats here.
Well, thank you for coming, and thank you for co-sponsoring. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Now, quick question. Are you the guy who protested me outside, or are you the guy?
We were having a bake sale, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's...
Well, were the cookies good at least?
Yep, great
okay, good.
cookies.
Fantastic.
Great
were they legal?
Not yet. Give it time. So my question to you relates specifically to the transgender issue that you brought up during your speech. You cite the UCLA study and claim that it doesn't show in any way that suicide rates go down post-op. You say there's no evidence verifying this. However, during your speech...
Well, I said there's mixed evidence. I said there's mixed evidence about the drop in suicide rate.
During your speech, I pulled up the study on my phone as well as a bevy of other studies. Looking at research from the Karolinski Institute, from Berlin scientists, it actually seems to suggest, specifically the Berlin study, that suicide attempt rates drop from 26% to 3% in post-op treatment.
Right, so I've seen that study also. One of the problems with that particular study is it's not longitudinal. That study is only about like 1 year after the surgery. And what the statistics tend to show, at least according to scientists on the other side, right, is that you have to wait 10 years to find out whether the surgery takes or not, essentially. That there is an adjustment period, that of course you're really enthused in the year after you get a surgery that you feel you've been needing your entire life, but there's a readjustment period that happens. So for example, here's another longitudinal study. There's a cohort study from Sweden. It was released in 2011 and covered sex reassignment surgeries from 1973 to 2003. So it's a 30-year longitudinal study, and it found that transgender surgery recipients were still 19 times more likely to die by suicide than the general population, and found that, quote, sex reassignment, although alleviating gender dysphoria, may not suffice as treatment for transsexualism. Right, so as I say, there is mixed data. I'm not saying those studies don't exist. I'm saying I do find severe flaws in some of the studies that are cited. A lot of them are cited due to small sample size or not enough time in the longitudinal. Oh, yeah, you can follow up. That's fine.
Thank you. But specifically regarding the UCLA study, it actually suggests that when people are in supportive environments, their suicide attempt rates go down. You said that you do not believe feeding into their, quote, delusion will support them. How do you respond to the UCLA study you yourself used, suggesting that it in fact does?
So a lot of these, so I don't tend to believe self-reported studies about treatment, meaning how people treat you. Questionnaire studies are not as good as behavioral studies. So the more important statistic from that study, the one that I usually cite, is the one about whether people can identify you as transsexual or as transgender or not. Right? If they can't identify you as transgender, it's a 45% lifetime suicidality, suicide attempt rate. And if you are not identified as transgender, there's a 40% lifetime suicide attempt rate. Now, that doesn't mean that if people are mean to you, that your life isn't worse or that your suicide rate may not go up. Maybe it does, but I think that the evidence is not particularly strong on that score. And the level of bullying you have to really have some sort of third-party documentation as to the level of bullying, because there's also the significant possibility that people who are more likely to commit suicide are also more likely to feel sensitive to bullying that other people might not feel sensitive to.
Thank you for coming out. I hope you enjoy the weather.